Okay, good morning and welcome back to day 38 of 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Yesterday you had homework. We read about having conversations with your parents, real conversations with your parents, where you actually listen to hear them, not where you listen to respond to them. And last night you were supposed to sit down and have a real conversation with your parents. And you were supposed to ask them some of these questions like, how was your day today? Tell me what I can do to make things around here easier for you. Explain to them what your um, relationship bank account is and ask them what they can do to make it a deposit into their relationship bank account with you, or ask them what you can do to make a deposit into the relationship bank account that you have with them. So you had quite a few things to do. I hope you were able to do it. It's pretty cut and dry because hopefully you have conversations with the people you love on a daily basis, anyways. Now, today we are going to discuss seeking to be understood. I saw the results of a survey in which people were asked what their greatest fears were. Death came out as number two. You'll never guess what the number one fear was. It was speaking in public. People who would actually rather die than speak in public. It takes boldness to speak up in public, no doubt about it. And it also takes boldness to speak up in general. The second half of habit five, then seek to be understood, is as important as the first half, but requires something different of us. Seeking first to understand requires consideration, but seeking to be understood requires courage. Practicing only the first half of habit five, seek first to understand, is weak. It's lose win. It's the doormat syndrome. Yet, it's an easy trap to fall into, especially with parents. I'm not going to tell dad how I feel. He won't listen and he'd never understand. So, we harbor these feelings inside while our parents carry on never knowing how we truly feel. But this isn't healthy. Remember, unexpressed feelings never die. They are buried alive and come forth later in uglier ways. You've got to share your feelings or they'll eat your heart out. Besides, if you have taken the time to listen, your chances of being listened to are very good. In the following story, notice how Lee practiced both halves of the habit. I was sick and missed a day of school. My parents were concerned that I wasn't getting enough sleep and that I was staying out too late. Instead of coming up with a bunch of excuses, I tried to understand their reasoning, and I agreed with them. But I also explained to them that I'm trying to have a fun senior year, and this includes spending time with my friends. My parents were willing to look at the situation from my point of view, and we reached a compromise. I was to stay in one of the days that weekend and rest. I don't think my parents would have been as lenient if I hadn't tried to understand them first. So, giving feedback is an important part of seeking to be understood. If done in the right way, it can be a deposit in the RBA. If someone's fly is open, for instance, give feedback. They'll be very grateful, believe me. If you have a close friend who had bad breath to the point of developing a reputation for it, don't you think he or she would appreciate some honest feedback delivered gently? Have you ever returned home from a date only to discover that you had a big piece of meat between your teeth and the whole evening? With terror, you immediately recall every smile you made that night. Don't you wish your date had told you? If your RBA with someone is high, you can give feedback openly without hesitation. My younger brother Joshua, a senior in high school, shared this. One nice thing about having older brothers or sisters is the feedback they give you. When I come home from high school basketball or football game, mom and dad will meet me at the door and go over all the key plays I made. Mom will rave about the talent that I have, and dad will say it was my leadership skills that directed the team to victory. When my sister Jenny comes in the kitchen to join us, I'll ask her how I did. She'll tell me how ordinary I played, and I'd better get my act together if I want to keep my starting position. And she hopes I'll play better the next game and not embarrass her. Since Jenny and Josh are very close, they can share feedback candidly. Keep these 2 points in mind as you give feedback. First, ask yourself the question, will this feedback really help this person, or am I doing it just to suit myself and fix them? If the motive for the feedback isn't with their best interest at heart, then it's probably not the time or place to do it. Second, send I messages instead of you messages. In other words, give feedback in the first person. Say, I'm concerned that you have a temper problem, or I feel that you've been acting selfish lately. You messages are more threatening because they sound as if you're accusing. You are so self-centered. You have a terrible temper. The other person will feel like they're getting attacked. Well, that should pretty much wrap it up. I don't have a lot more to say about this habit except to end with the thought that we began with. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. Okay, wonderful. So, giving feedback. It's a great tool and it most definitely needs to be used. So, I want you to write a paragraph for your homework about a time that you gave someone feedback using the you message instead of the I message. I shows concern. When did you use the you message while giving feedback versus um, I feel or I think? Okay. And you just said, you have a terrible temper. You do this all the time. I think you'll see a huge difference when you include yourself into the mix and quit just pointing the fingers at everyone else. Because, like they say, when you point one finger at someone else, you've got three pointing right back at you. Okay, so write that paragraph. When was a time that you gave feedback being accusatory instead of using the I message? Okay, I look forward to seeing your responses. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Have a great one. Toodle-doo.